Okay, so I have two spaces created. A user's space where I can see a list of users in my system, and then I also have a user profile. So my goal is to link these two spaces together. And when I click on Gene here, for example, I want that to take me to Gene's profile information. Now to do that, I'll go into edit mode. And the first thing I will do is add a URL parameter. So I'm going to call this URL parameter user ID. Now that that's been added, now I can bind to that URL parameter. So I'm going to go ahead and go into each of these components here. And I'm going to say add a filter. And I'm going to say show me the account info where the ID is equal to a component value. The component is that URL parameter that I just created, so the user ID. Now for user settings, I can either bind this to the account info or I can bind this to the URL parameter. I'm just going to go ahead and bind it to the URL parameter. So again, I'm going to say this time use the user ID for the user settings. And I'm going to bind that to a component value. And the value I'm binding to is that URL parameter's user ID. Now that that is done, let me go ahead and first publish this. So currently no information is showing because there's no actual parameter passed through. Now I'm going to copy this URL here and then go to my users table. And then I'm going to go into edit mode, click on the table component, and we're going to add a link component here. So in this link component, I'm going to paste in that URL to my other space, which is the user profile. Then I'm going to type in question mark, and then my URL parameter, which is user ID. And then I'm going to insert a variable here. So my goal is to grab the user ID from this table. It's not showing in this particular column just because I have it hidden, but the variable is available. So I'll come in here and say, grab this row's ID. So now that completes my URL. It's a template. And the last thing I'll do is instead of showing the long link text, I'm just going to show view profile. And I'll add a label here, call to action. Let's also label this, name this component to user profile link. And we should be all set. So let me just go ahead and publish this. Exit out. Now, one thing I forgot to do is to go into this link component and set it to open in the same window. So go ahead and change that, publish. And let's try this again. Click on Claire. And there we go. So now I'm seeing Claire's account info and Claire's user settings. And that's it.